Something that I learned a few years ago was that there's a very subtle difference between the people that have and the people that have not. And I'm not talking about bank accounts here because obviously there's a big difference between Jeff Bezos' bank account and everyone else's in America. But the difference that I'm talking about is the mindset that the people that have it seem to have and the have not seem not to have. And I've read a good bit of personal finance books up to this point, and all of them seem to have this common theme, that the rich people do specific actionable things that keep them wealthy, and the poor seem to neglect these things. So in this video, I compiled a list of 9 things that rich people do that the poor people neglect, and it's the reason why the have-nots never seem to get to the point where they have it as well. So obviously, I'm not making this video from a point of being extremely wealthy. I'm making this video as a person who can relate to going through the transition of trying to go from being poor to being wealthy in that sense of a word. These habits are what led me to saving $20,000 while being in college and only making $900 a month. These habits are the same that led me to learning about investing and starting this YouTube channel, trying to teach others about personal finance. So if we haven't met already, my name is Anfernee McLemore, and before we get this video started and to start talking about these habits, let me show you a way that you can get one step closer to being rich, and that is by signing up to Public using the link in the description below, where if you sign up, you will get a free slice of a stock, completely free just for signing up. You don't have to deposit any money at all. That is a pretty cool deal because all you have to do is punch on your keyboard a few times, and now you have money deposited into your Public account. But let's get back into this video and into the first habit that rich people do that the poor people do not. And their very first habit or mindset is that poor people think that effort equals money. You see, a lot of times people equate how much time they put into an activity with how much money they should be making from the activity. Meaning that if they work 40 hours a week on a project and someone else works 40 hours a week on a project, then their pay should be comparable because they're putting in the same amount of effort. While in contrast, rich people know that value equals money. Meaning that yes, 2 people can be working the exact same hours on the exact same project, but if one person is provided a lot more value, if one person has been a lot more inspirational, motivational, overall just providing more value to the activity, then they will be compensated more. And this goes the same with life as well. You see CEOs putting in the same, if not more hours as the everyday workers, but they get compensated way more because they are a lot more valuable to their company than the everyday person is. And the way you can change your mindset about this to be hopefully becoming part of the rich one day is to try to find ways that you can provide more value to people. I'm going to make a lot of references to this YouTube channel in this video because that's what I relate to well. So if you are making YouTube videos, think about some ways that you can provide more value to your viewers. How can you get more people engaged? How can you get more people to sit down and watch through your stuff? And if you can figure out a way to do that, then you will in turn make more money because you will be providing more value to your audience. But this leads me to the second habit that poor people have that the rich don't, and that is the habit that poor people have a mindset of saving first and spending later. Now, obviously, I've been a part of this habit as well. I made a few videos about how you should save money, how you can save $10,000, $5,000 in different ways. And I do think that saving money has a valuable place in society. However, rich people have a different way of thinking about that. Yes, rich people do have savings. They have emergency funds. They have savings for different things. But rich people tend to have a cap on their savings. Rich people save to a certain amount. And then after they get that amount that they need, they then look for investment options because they need to make their money work for them. There's really no sense in having $100,000 saved in a bank account and nothing invested. There is not a likely scenario where you would need all of that money immediately unless you have some loans or some crazy other scenarios going on. But most of the time you only need maybe 10, 15,000 ish saved, and then you can put the other 85,000 in an investment account and allow it to work, grow, and make money for you. And this is one of the reasons why the rich people are always getting richer, and one of the reasons why the poor and the middle class always seems to be losing net worth value, because as rich people invest, their assets increase in value and their money makes more money for them. But as the poor and the middle class don't invest and keep their money in savings, inflation eats up at their net worth and they continue to lose value in their already little net worth. So transitioning into a mindset of investing first and then spending is a ton better than saving first and then spending once you already have your emergency fund saved. And moving on to the third habit that rich people have that the poor people don't, and this habit is that of learning equals earning. Meaning that the more you learn, the more you know, the more that you can understand, the higher your earning potential will be. And the rich people do this in a way of reading books. Now recently, I would say in the past 12 months or so, I've really been focusing a lot on reading books. I've been reading a ton of personal finance books, a ton of personal development books, all because I read an article about a year ago that said 90+% of billionaires read books on a daily basis. Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, all of these guys continuously read and continuously learn in order to educate themselves on different topics. Now, to put this in comparison to what I was doing before, all I would do is either scroll on social media or scroll on TikTok or watch TVs about shows that wouldn't benefit me in the long run. And I think that reading is very similar to investing. Although you're not necessarily investing your money, you are investing your time by reading and learning and benefiting your future self. I think that this is the habit that can be the most easily achieved because you can do it as gradually as you want it to be. You don't have to set a goal of reading one book a day or one book a week, but you can start off by reading one book a month until you slowly build that habit of reading, and then you can start to increase your reading speed. However, this leads me to the fourth habit that the have-nots do, but the have don't. And that is that the have-nots are penny smart but dollar stupid. And when I first learned about this habit, I thought it was confusing, but this is basically what it means. It means that the have-nots tend to focus a lot more on the small stuff, and that is how much a coffee costs, how much a piece of meat costs. They focus on trying to save cents on the dollar, whether something is $5.50 or $5, rather than focusing on the big dollar stuff that can help them in the long run. And for me, I was just like this in the past. I would focus on how much I was spending on a grocery trip, but I wasn't thinking twice about paying a $297 auto loan at a 13% interest rate. And that is what I mean by dollar stupid. The have-nots tend to neglect their big dollar amount purchases and tend to focus on only the little stuff, about how much coffee costs and different things like that, when focusing on the big ticket items can help them save much more money in the long run. And this comes in the form of investing in yourself as well. When I first got into college, I told myself that I would never buy a $300 course, no matter how valuable I thought it was to me. But coming into the end of college, I did buy a $300 course from a YouTuber named Graham Stephan about how to get started on YouTube, and since started a YouTube channel from that course, that investment has paid for itself 10, 15 times over just from being monetized in the month of January. So understanding that you need to focus on the big ticket items more than you need to focus on the pennies is what really separates the rich from the poor. But moving on to the fifth habit that the rich people do and the poor people don't, and that habit is that rich people tend to wake up early with a purpose. Now, I am definitely not against sleeping in a time or two, whether it be on a weekend or on a weekday or whenever you have a day off, but from reading multiple articles, I have learned that most billionaires, most millionaires tend to wake up at 5 a.m. or earlier to get their day started, and they always wake up with a purpose. They always know what needs to be done and the most efficient way to go about doing those tasks. So if you have a YouTube channel, as I said, I was going to make a lot of YouTube references in this video, you can start your day off at 5 a.m. by planning your video, knowing what you're going to record, knowing what you're going to edit, and then making your way through that list as the day goes on, so you always know the most efficient way to progress yourself on a day-by-day basis. Success and wealth is never an overnight thing. Consistent action over a long period of time is what will eventually lead to your success, and by putting in a purposeful amount of work every single day, you will be doing everything in your power to help lead you towards that success and towards being a part of the quote-unquote rich. And then moving on to the sixth habit that poor people do and the rich people don't, and this is one I had to focus on myself a lot more in the past year, and that is that poor people tend to not take responsibility for their actions and rich people do. Now, I'm not talking about anything like hitting a car and running or taking responsibility or anything like that. I'm talking about taking responsibility in a sense that you understand that you are in control of your own destiny and of your own actions. I'm sure we all know that if we work a little bit harder, if we put in a little bit more effort, if we just do one of these things every single day, then we'll be a little bit closer to that dream body we want. We'll be a little bit closer to that goal we reached or to that house that we want. We all understand what we need to do, but we didn't have to take the responsibility to do those things so that we can get closer to those goals. A lot of times we can make up excuses like we don't have enough time, we're too tired, there's too many things going on in my life, and that's why we're not where we want to be at. But if we understand that we can make time, if we understand that we can push through that fatigue, then we can go about achieving our dreams way faster than we ever thought possible. And this actually leads very well into the seventh habit, and that habit is that the have-nots believe in luck versus the rich believe in work. There was a quote that I heard a while ago. I don't know who it's by, but basically it said, "It seems that the harder I work, the luckier that I get." And this quote really spoke to me because it allowed me to see that success most of the time is not a matter of luck. It's not a matter of who's more attractive or who speaks better or who can do this better than the other. Success most of the time is a matter of who puts in more work on a consistent basis versus the other person. And also, when someone does put in a lot of work, it may take them a very long time before they eventually receive the level of recognition that was always deserved to them. Meaning that someone who puts in a little amount of work and someone who puts in a lot of work every single day, they may see similar results for the first year or 2 years or 5 years, but after 5 years, the person that put in a lot of hard work may see an explosion in their audience or explosion in their revenue, while the person who put in little work will continue on their same path. And this is why people may seem like overnight successes when they actually put in a lot of work in the background. You just didn't see it because you just didn't notice that person in the very beginning. However, let's get into the 8th habit that the rich people have and the poor people don't. And that habit is what they actually do with their money. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And I learned this directly from Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that is that the rich people buy assets and the poor buy liabilities or stuff. Now, I'm not going to talk about this habit a lot because I made a lot of videos on this in the past. But basically what rich people do with their money is that they buy things that make more money for them rather than things that depreciate in value. When you look at billionaires' portfolios, they don't hold a lot of money in cash. They don't hold a majority of their net worth in cars or in houses unless it's real estate. They hold their portfolio in appreciating assets so that money can continue to make more money for them. And when they actually need money to spend, they use the money that their assets generated rather than the money that their work generated, so that asset can continue to bring in an income for an indefinite amount of time in the future. Put this in comparison to someone who buys liabilities like cars or houses. Once they stop working, once they stop making money, they don't have anything making money for them. They don't have any passive income making money while they sleep. This means that they are way more susceptible to not being able to cover an emergency fund, not being able to cover a car accident, different things like that, because they don't have enough assets to cover them when they are not working. Now, as I said, I made a lot of videos about this in the past, so if you want, you can click on this card up here where you can watch one of those videos. But let's move on to the last habit of this video. And the last habit that the rich people have that the poor people don't is that rich people always seem to focus on opportunities rather than obstacles. How many times in your life have you been at the point where you felt like you couldn't do something because it was too hard or it was too much competition or some reason or another? If I go back to YouTube, there's 1,000, probably 1 million personal finance channels out there. And I thought, what is YouTube going to do with one other one? Who's going to watch my stuff? And if I would have kept that mindset of focusing on the obstacles, I probably would have never gotten started on YouTube. I probably would have never developed this second stream of income that then turned into a third and fourth and a fifth stream of income because I didn't focus on the opportunity of the situation. Yes, there are a lot of personal finance YouTubers out there, but there's not one personal finance YouTuber that can do what I do exactly the way that I do it. And someone may be able to connect with the way I present information rather than someone else's. And that little window provides an opportunity for me to come in and grow a channel. So focusing on opportunity is huge because there are opportunities everywhere. Whatever you could potentially see yourself getting rich at, I guarantee you that there's an opportunity to do that same thing somewhere. You just have to look out for it and you just have to find it. But with all that being said, those are the 9 habits that the rich people have and the poor people don't, and some ways that you can develop those habits for yourself. If you like this video, don't forget to drop a like on the video for your boy, as it really does help the channel out. And also, if you want to support the channel, then don't forget to sign up to Public using the link in the description below, where if you sign up, you'll get a free slice of a stock, and that's a pretty cool way to start off your investing journey. But with all that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.